East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM, 24/7. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. Joining me today in this studio, I hope will be Kevin Wade. He's detained in traffic a little bit. So in the meantime, I will push on. And we've got a great lineup of guests today. And joining us at 3:35 will be Allie Meyer. She's a staff writer for the Washington Free Beacon. She covers economic issues that expose government waste, fraud, and abuse. And boy, do I love that. Not that I love waste, fraud, and abuse, but I love uncovering waste, fraud, and abuse. And prior to working with the Free Beacon, she was a media reporter with CNSNews.com, where her work appeared on outlets such as Drudge and Fox News. She's also she also interneted with the Heritage Foundation and Pacific Research Institute. Allie's going to be joining us to discuss record high number of foreign-born workers employed in 2005, and that'll be Allie Meyer at 4:35. At 4:05, we're going to have Niger Innes, and he is a conservative activist and chief strategist for TeaPartyForward.com. Niger is an advocate for activism to reach across party lines to promote policies counted on return the fundamental principles embodied in the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And Niger is going to be talking about the unhinged and out-of-touch agitators of Black Lives Matter. And at 4:35, we're going to have Isaac Hayes join us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Isaac is a research fellow for energy and environmental policy at the Heartland Institute, and he's joining us to talk about experts reacts to EPA's proposed increase in ethanol in gas. And joining me today in the studio is my good friend, and that is Kevin Wade. Kevin, welcome.
Rick, it's always great to be with you on a Monday. It's a great way for me to start off the week, and I hope that the audience enjoys it.
Absolutely. So what's on your radar screen today, my friend?
Last Monday we spoke about A Day in Old Newcastle, the longest running home and garden show in America, and we had many nice days last week, but unfortunately one of them was not Saturday.
Well, that kind of kept Mary and I away. Also, Mary was under the weather a little bit.
15,000 others.
Well, that is a shame, but weather, things like that are so weather sensitive. And it just was a miserable weekend here on the East Coast. But, Kevin, there's a lot in the news today. In fact, I think the watch right now is down in Baltimore, where there has been a verdict. Baltimore police officer Edward Nero was found not guilty of all charges Monday in connection with the death of Freddie Gray. And Judge Barry Williams took 20 minutes to read the decision to a packed courtroom and a near-capacity overflow crowd. Nero nodded as Williams said there is no evidence to support each individual charge, then tilted his own head back in relief after the judge read the verdict. He then put his head down and sobbed. So here you go, Kevin. So now the city on Baltimore is on alert.
Well, they should be on alert for deceptive political leadership who has inflamed a sad situation as these political leaders try to hustle up a few more votes. These are street corner grifters passing themselves off as leaders of a once great city of Baltimore. And we do have a system of justice, and the prosecutor is duty-bound to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt. And apparently that didn't happen because he was found not guilty on every single charge. The big question, I guess, for America is how do the people of Baltimore react? They can make it worse. They can't make it better.
All right. And then Delaware's own Joe Biden spoke at the U.S. Military Academy's Class of 2016 commencement on Saturday, and he told crowds having men and women together in the battlefield is an incredible asset. I guess if you're a guy, it is, but having men and women together in the battlefield is an incredible asset. He also said
further evidence of the delusions of the left.
He also said that more openly gay soldiers will strengthen the country's armed forces. And that's Delaware's own Joe Biden.
Well, I know how they've been received traditionally, so I don't need to make any comment. This is another this combination of men and women on the battlefield. I'm not speaking about in the military because women can play a lot of vital and critical roles in the military. They have for many years, going back to who was the nurse who tended soldiers all the way back when, Florence Nightingale. Mm-hmm. But the purpose of the military arm of our government and any government is to come to close combat with the enemy and to destroy them with maximum violence in the shortest time to minimize our casualties and suffering. That's the purpose of the military. It's not a dating site.
Well,
and it's not there to reflect anything other than our intentions to destroy our enemies as quickly as possible anywhere we meet them.
Well, not so fast, Kevin, because Joe Biden has some other ideas how the military are going to be affected. Biden also warned the graduating class that it's facing a vast range of complex challenges, including battling the Islamic State extremists, containing outbreaks of contagious diseases, and defending against cyber attacks. So now the military's job is to defend us against contagious diseases and hanky-panky on the internet, Kevin.
Well, Joe Biden is Joe Biden. I imagine the first 35 people who were called and requested to come and make an address were all too busy, and that's why the burden fell to Joe Biden. And he certainly did nothing to dispel his well-known reputation for senseless comments at otherwise sensible times. Mm-hmm. But truly, if you think this war with ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and all their colleagues mm-hmm. On the terrorist front is ugly now, wait till they capture an American female soldier and put those videos up.
Don't
Joe
even
Biden,
want to
Joe
think
Biden,
about that.
Do you really have a stomach for what those images can show? Do you really want to invite our daughters and our sisters and our granddaughters into combat to put them into that situation, Joe Biden? Have you thought about it? Have you ever given a moment's deep thought to it? Well, the answer is no. That's why he's a Democrat.
Yeah. Kevin, we got about a minute before we go to our break. Do you have a tease on a possible, as you see it today?
Yeah. The tease is, what will Trump's policies bring? I think he's established himself as a legitimate candidate. Mm-hmm. In recent polling is early and it will change a lot. But the wishes that many had that his his position as the Republican nominee would result in a landslide in November. That's been dispelled by recent polling numbers. Now, it just might be that he's not quite as unpopular as Hillary Clinton, but I think it's time to take a look forward as to what might his policies bring. And that's what I'll be talking about after the break.
All right. Always look forward to your commentaries, but we are going to take a little quick break right now. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Waite and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM 24/7. Today's show is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Kevin and I will be right back.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. It's Monday, the 23rd of May in the year of our Lord, 2016. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. For mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network, or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com, and you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any telephone on planet Earth. by calling the United States at 832-999-1199, 832-999-1199. This is the Conservative Commandos. I'm Kevin Wade, and in the studio with me is our show's founder and inspirational leader, Rick Trader.
Kevin, always great to be with you on Mondays, and I believe you have a commentary for us.
Commentary is titled, What Will Trump's Policies Bring? Trump, according to polling, has closed an earlier wide gap with Hillary Clinton. As the Republicans form up behind Trump and the Democrat primary contests grow more bitter and divided, national polling of registered voters shows a tightening race for the White House. Any earlier speculation that Trump would lose in a November landslide was nothing more than wishful thinking by pundits opposed to Donald Trump. Now, it's reasonable to consider the consequences of a Trump presidency. A President Trump needs congressional support to deliver on his campaign promises. That support today is a big if. Yet, winning the White House does prove a national mandate, and the larger the mandate, the more likely it is that Congress will swing behind him and implement his programs. This certainly will happen with the Republican House and Senate. Now, this is exactly why we have elections, in order to make peaceful change in leadership and to take new directions supported by the will of the people. So it's time to look at Trump's policies to understand what they would bring to our country. Make America Great Again is a powerful message. Trump sees this as improving the widespread prosperity of the nation and securing our borders. He says that our trade agreements have bled out the wealth of the nation. He'll break those agreements and renegotiate much more favorable terms. He's mentioned a 35% import tariff, a tax on foreign goods on entry to our markets. If imported shoes cost $100 before Trump, they'll cost 35% more after the tariff, or $135. The same price bump applies to all foreign goods, from smartphones to brass fittings used in plumbing. They will bring a burst of inflation as import costs ripple through the economy. There will also be an almost immediate surge in manufacturing here. Plants long idle will resume operation, and likely a construction boom will build new American factories. The inflation and the manufacturing boom will continue until American manufacturing grows to fill the gap. It will be a great time to find a job. Not only will there be an initial shortage in relatively lower-priced American goods, but also a shortfall in the number of people needed to build and operate the new production. If you need a job, you'll find it much easier to get a job. If you have a job, expect to be recruited away to a better job with higher pay and better benefits. That's exactly how free enterprise works in a healthy economy. The other keystone of Trump's program is to secure the border and to begin large deportations of people here illegally. And what does this mean to us? It is expensive to deport people, but we may not have to do much of that. Many illegals may take the smart step of leaving under their own power to minimize disruption to their own lives. They'll know that their delay in leaving, resulting in a forced deportation, will likely remove any chance of their legal return in the future. This is the genius in Trump's plan. It gives every reason for people to deport themselves at no cost to the taxpayer. Millions of jobs today are taken by illegals. Many work under the worst of conditions. These are the ugly circumstances created by the liberal, broken border supporters. As the low-paid illegals return home, that work still needs to be done. Employers now who exploit illegal labor will have to recruit and keep Americans to do those jobs. That means they have to pay enough and set decent conditions on the job to keep the Americans they need. This will also drive up the cost of things and bump inflation. But there is another side to the coin. The present vastly expensive social benefits consumed by illegal aliens will go away. Less crowded schools, less crowded emergency rooms, less crowded court dockets and jail cells, all extremely costly to the American taxpayer, will begin to cost much less. As Americans move into these jobs, the number of Americans on the dole decreases, and the income tax revenue increases with more workers getting a paycheck and paying their share of taxes. Less government outlay and more revenue means budgets easier to balance. That makes a healthy future. Trump's plans, if enacted by Congress, mean a bumpy road for a few years. Those plans will also lead to many millions of Americans sharing in a new prosperity and a new sense of purpose and hope. If you could ask them several years into the future, I think they will say that America has become great again. I'm Kevin Wade, and that's the way I see it, Rick.
Kevin, another terrific commentary, and there's so much stuff. We could take the rest of the show and just discuss your commentary. But Trump's mandate, Trump's polling numbers with Hillary Clinton, she does hold a slight lead now, down from 11% just a couple of months ago to just 3%. And the nomination isn't even his yet. I think that once the never-Trumpers get over the hurt of not seeing their guy get the nomination, I think they're going to fall in line with the Trump supporters. But at the same time, I think it's extremely important that we conservatives support conservative candidates for the House, for the Senate, to also send a message to Donald Trump, hey, we heard you, but now hear us.
Exactly. I mean, he's not a conservative. He's more conservative than Hillary. He's far more conservative than Bernie, feel the burn, but he's not conservative.
Oh, that's the reason I'd love to see. I'd love to see Trump versus Sanders. There you have a capitalist and a socialist. Talk about the dividing between seeing the black and seeing the white. There it is.
Yeah, one guy who's made $10 billion, another guy who couldn't pay his bills till he was 40 years old and went on a government job. But that's a good contest. But that's not the one we're likely to see. But he's far more conservative than the Democrats. He's far less conservative than most of the people in our circle and most of our listeners. But that doesn't mean the conservative movement is dead or it's lost its purpose. We still have to fight for the Constitution. We still have to fight for limited government. We still have to fight for the right to keep the money that we've earned and keep big government out of our wallets and our paychecks. So that's a fight that has to take place, and it may take place fighting a President Trump. So there's still a live and vital conservative movement. We still need to work for those candidates.
Amen to that.
And with that, let's get into a break, and we'll be coming back with our first guest on the other side. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Kevin Wade. This is Conservative Commandos. We're going to be back on the other side of this break. You stay with us.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
This is Frank Giordano, president of Philly Pops. The Your Music Matters morning show and the Philly Pops have put together a great event on May 23rd at the Investors Bank Performing Arts Center in Washington Township. The Philly Pops presents the All South Jersey Jazz Festival. 6 finalist high school jazz bands, all from South Jersey, will perform. Schools were chosen during the recent South Jersey High School Jazz Band Competition on the Your Music Matters morning show on WNJC. At the concert, each band will be performing. The show will also feature the Philly Pops Big Band Ensemble. The highlight of the evening will be the announcement of the winning high school band, who will play with the Pops Ensemble. Tickets are available at the box office for $20 and $10 for students. Tickets are also available at Ticketmaster.com. More information about the competition can be found online by going to 1360radio.com or seniormatters.info. Hope to see you there on the 23rd and listen to these young people perform.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Thank you, Colonel West. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRshow.com on mornings at 9 a.m. Log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. Or 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to High Plains Daily News. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And I think we're ready for our first guest. Ollie Meyer is a staff writer with the Washington Free Beacon covering economic issues that expose government waste, fraud, and abuse. There's not enough ink in the world to cover all those stories out of Washington. Prior to the Free Beacon, she was a multimedia reporter with CNS News, where her work appeared on outlets such as Drudge, my favorite, Fox News, my second favorite, and she also interned with the Heritage Foundation, and that's not shabby. And with that, Ollie Meyer, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a column that's come out recently. Unemployment rate for foreign-born workers is lower than for native-born. What's happening here, Ollie?
Right. Well, there was a release from the Bureau of Labor Statistics who collects data on foreign-born individuals as opposed to native-born. Foreign-born would be people that are either refugees, undocumented immigrants, temporary residents, and they found that there was a record-high number of foreign-born workers employed in 2015. And this number, they've been tracking this since 2002, and this number has increased by 31.4%. Now, native-born, they also had a record high, but they did not increase as much, the number of employed people, as much as the foreign-born. They only increased by about 5.4%. So what you're seeing is basically a extremely high growth of foreign-born workers getting jobs in the United States as opposed to native-born workers.
Now, how do they do this head count, so to speak? I mean, I understand that they know how many legally admitted immigrants, and they've hopefully been counting refugees and so on. But how do they come up with, how do they know how many undocumented immigrants are here and in the workforce?
Right. Well, it comes from the current population survey. So this is, the BLS, they go out and do their own calculations of how they find it. Now, they do not show the difference. So you can't, itemize it and say how many are undocumented out of this group. But what you can glean from it is that, there are more and more undocumented immigrants getting jobs instead of native-born workers.
Does it draw any conclusions as to what causes this, or is it some of the obvious things?
Well, the BLS doesn't give its own analysis, so it's up to reporters to try to dig through these numbers. But one of the things that you can look at is the difference by occupation. So what they did say was that foreign-born workers are more likely than native-born workers to be employed in service occupation, construction, maintenance occupations, and native-born workers are more likely to be employed in management and professional outlets. So also they do data on money, and so what they found is that the wages are lower for those foreign-born workers. So what you can conclude is that foreign-born workers are cheaper labor and they're competing with native-born workers, and that they are increasingly getting more jobs than the native-born workers.
And how's that going to be viewed by folks who are born in Yankee Doodle, USA?
Well, if you look at just the regular unemployment numbers every month, everyone likes to highlight the regular unemployment rate, which is about 5% right now. And so a lot of people like to say, oh, this is great, we're getting near maximum employment. But if you look at another number, which is the not in labor force number, there are 94 million Americans who are not in the labor force. And a lot of these people would like to have full-time jobs, but they're getting part-time jobs. And there are a lot of different metrics that you can look at that show that maybe the labor force is not as great as everyone makes it out to be, and that if there weren't as many foreign-born workers competing with native-born workers, then these people would have more opportunities and jobs available for them.
Do you think the American people are coming to that conclusion?
Well, I know Senator Sessions is one of them. He has introduced a letter urging his colleagues to not put money towards giving more H-1B visas because of this. He said, quote, blue-collar American workers have long endured an excess of foreign workers. Millions of foreign workers have been brought to the United States while countless jobs have gone overseas. So I think he's trying to get the sentiment of the American people that many people are looking for work and there needs to be more opportunities for them.
And that's a fair appraisal. Now, this country is a nation of immigrants. We've all come someplace else. Even if my name is Cochise, my people had to wander in from someplace else in the past. It's just the nature of our country. But we can, it's not difficult to take a look at some of the great achievements developed to the benefit of the entire country by people who were born someplace else. I think Alexander Graham Bell was born someplace else. Andrew Carnegie came from Scotland. I think Donald Trump will tell us that his mother was born over there as well. So how do we determine what's good immigration and what's bad immigration? Allie, do you have any idea how we? Because I think there is a line, or at least there's a gray area.
Right. Well, a lot of evidence also points to that if you increase legal immigration, that's going to increase GDP, which obviously has been about 2% every month. That seems to be the average number that's been coming out. And if you increase the number of legally admitted immigrants, then that obviously is going to add to GDP and allow for more production in the economy because those people are getting jobs. So obviously it is good to have legally admitted immigrants, and that will help the economy as well.
Well, that assumes that by legally or illegally, by admitting people into the country, that automatically increases GDP. But when a person comes into the country, they don't have a job, and at that moment, at least that instant, they're a drain on the community and not a contributor. So I think it's a bit sketchy to say that, we see a GDP growth and it's driven by immigration, legal or otherwise. But you take a look at all these people that are unemployed and underemployed, and for so long that they don't even get counted in the unemployment statistics. These are just the ones that didn't survive and have given up. And it's very difficult to see that we should have a broad-based open door to let essentially anyone in. I think we'd want to let a lot of people in. I think it's the nature of our country and our view of the world to have immigration here. But the question is, do we control it, or is it just a smash and grab for people around the world to the benefit, perhaps, of the United States Chamber of Commerce and a few others?
Right. And one group who was really good on this is the Center for Immigration Studies. And one of the interesting reports that they came out with a couple years ago said that since 2000, all of the net gain in the number of working people has gone to immigrants, both legal and illegal. Those that have held a job have gone to that group, and that there were fewer working-age natives holding a job in the first quarter of 2014 than in 2000. So you can see that the number of those people are getting jobs more so than the native-born Americans.
Hey, Allie, we're coming into a hard break. Would you stay with us through the break so we can continue this conversation on the other side?
Yeah.
Allie Meyer staying with us. She's staff writer with the Washington Free Beacon. I hope you will, too. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia. And around the world, every place on the Internet, with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM FM 24/7. I'm Kevin Wade. Rick Trader's in the studio with me. Allie's waiting. You stay with us. We'll be right back.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty,
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Thank you, Colonel West. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m. with your morning coffee, log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., just after lunch, log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., just after watching O'Reilly, and I know many of you do, log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone anywhere on planet Earth by calling 832-999-1199. Check your cell phone supplier to see if it's toll-free. Allie Meyer, staff writer from the Washington Free Beacon, is here. She's done a piece about the unemployment rate for foreign-born workers is lower than for the native-born. Allie, thank you for staying with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, I have a question. You may not have the answer. I recently heard a great turn of speech. I'm allowed to make up questions, and if need be, you can make up an answer. I like that. In fact, I heard that from a pastor. I did a double take.
That'll be our new motto.
Anyhow, Allie, they're lumping together this calculated unemployment rate with legal immigrants, what I'll call legal aliens who've come here with permission for some time duration, as well as illegal aliens, illegal immigrants. And I have to think that if you were brought over to work for Microsoft with an H-1B visa, you've got a job waiting for you when you arrive. So there's a large population of people who have come in who are supremely qualified, who are walking immediately into a job. And I think that distorts the numbers if you lump them with someone who came across the Rio Grande 2 weeks ago. And I tend to think that the statistics, and this is not in the tone of your column, and I'm just offering this, but I think the statistics being put out seem to paint a more, say, appealing economic narrative to the presence of illegal aliens within our communities.
So what you're saying is that if they separated out someone who maybe has a H-1B visa as opposed to undocumented immigrants, that the unemployment rate would be lower for undocumented immigrants?
No, it would be far higher. If people coming in with an H-1B or someone who's coming in to take a medical residency in Boston, coming in from France, their unemployment rate is approaching zero. They're moving into positions. That's why they've come. Okay? If you were to pull them out of the pool and only leave the undocumented workers, the illegal immigrants, the illegal aliens, I think you'd find that unemployment rate is through the roof.
Okay.
I don't know if there's truth to it. It just seems sensible.
Go on.
So I think Rick Trader, my co-host, has a question for both of us.
Yeah, we're speaking today.
And he hasn't given me a heads up. So you and I, Allie...
Well, I did kind of on the break, It did.
So you and I, Allie, are going to have to respond to this question.
But here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we're speaking with Allie Meyer. She's a staff writer with the Washington Free Beacon. Allie, there's a lot of skeptics out there, and I might be one of them, that say that the foreign-born workers have a high rate of employment today because they're doing the jobs that a lot of Americans don't want. And that it might be based upon this new economy in this country being driven by the service and food industries. So these foreign-born workers will take these menial jobs where the native-born worker is waiting for a golden parachute. Am I thinking too far outside the box there, Allie Meyer?
No, because actually if you look at the BLS statistics, they do break down employment rates by profession and different occupations. And so I have it right in front of me. The service sector, foreign-born, has a higher rate of employment of 23.4% as opposed to the native-born with 16.2%. So, yes, there are certain jobs that the foreign-born are higher than the native-born. And maybe when it all evens out, it's a different number. But if you look at different sectors, there's definitely areas that they're more employed in.
Kevin, I've said here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, supposedly there are 15 million foreign-born workers in this country. I like people who want to work. I'm all for that, and I would love to trade those 15 million who want to work for 15 million people who live here legally who don't want to work.
So you're talking like a big swap? A swap meet?
Yeah, I'm talking, my name is Trader. My last name is Trader. So I would love to trade those 15 million people who come here who really want to work, who really want jobs.
So you want to find 15 million people who would like to take a one-way trip to Cancun?
Yeah. Cancun's very nice. I think they'd enjoy it down there. They'd find that, hey, Allie, am I being crazy?
Yeah, you are, actually. Allie, we have rules against that, okay? So you don't have to answer.
Okay. Well, all my job is to report the numbers that the BLS puts out. I totally understand your point. I appreciate people that want to work as well. And so, yeah, I'm just delivering whatever the BLS writes, and then I write about it.
And it's my job sometime to think outside the box and be silly, okay? So we're both doing our jobs here, which is a good thing. Kevin, back to you.
Right.
Allie, how often are these numbers released? I mean, was this a compilation of data for the past year, a special release, or is this a routine month-by-month publication?
It was a special release that is released once a year, and it came out. But they do release the numbers every month along with the unemployment statistics. So not everything that was in this BLS release comes out every month, but every time it's an unemployment day, the first Friday of every month, they will have the numbers of how many foreign-born people are employed, how many native-born are employed, the unemployment rate, all the statistics that come out with the regular labor survey, they will have that for if you're a foreign-born worker or a native-born worker as well.
Are there any secondary sources? I mean, are there any private reporting agencies that might follow certain segments of the economy where you could do a cross-check with what BLS is saying?
I mean, these are the government numbers. I know probably the census also has data on these types of things, immigrant households. But as far as looking at the labor numbers, these are the go-to ones. Also, the Center for Immigration Studies, if you're interested, they differentiate between foreign-born people and undocumented workers. They did a study on their welfare usage, so they might not have it on labor statistics per se, but they definitely differentiate undocumented workers and how much they use on welfare, if you're interested in that.
Do you have a column on that? Because you could be in here tomorrow if you do.
Okay. Sounds good.
Allie, it's always great to have you on the show. Tell our listeners how to stay current with your writings.
Okay, you can check us out at freebeacon.com, and we're also on Twitter at freebeacon, and we upload our stories every day and try to report on the stories that no one else is looking at.
Keep it up. That's why we'd like to have you on the show. Allie Meyer, staff writer, Washington Free Beacon. Thank you so much for being with us on the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Rick, good interview.
Great interview, and, Free Beacon does a great job. They really do, and that's why we love to have the writers on whenever we can.
But, let me say something. I mean, this is a nation of immigrants.
It is.
I mean, and I love the fact that we're a nation of immigrants, and some of the finest people I know are recent immigrants. I mean, great people who love this country as much as you and I do. They've come to love it because they've come here with a different set of eyes. They've become citizens.
Yeah, well, my grandparents were immigrants. They came here on a boat on my mother's side, 1911, from Poland. And on my father's side, he was an immigrant too. My first ancestor into this country came here in 1635 as an indentured slave.
Servant. Slavery.
Slave, servant, whatever you want to call him. So he was like 15 or 16 years old. So I thank God for being here. I thank God that my ancestors took a chance to come here, because I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Yep.
I really wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Now, what gripes me about our present circumstances is our own government isn't obeying its own laws, and we have people coming in willy-nilly, just walking through broken gates. And we pay the price in terms of, depressed wages, crime, some disease that's come in, some outrageous violence against American citizens, and no one in Washington cares. Kevin, I mean, I'm fine with immigration. I think we should throttle it up, throttle it down, maybe almost to zero, maybe open it up and double it. I don't know.
Sure.
But we should make those decisions,
right.
Not incompetent boobs down in Washington.
Just like a dam. Dams have controls on them. They really do. Kevin, if we didn't have this problem with our broken borders, I don't think there would be such an outrage, such a cry, or a need, as people see it as a need, for increasing minimum wage to $15 an hour.
No, you're right about that, because you would have had normal competitive, market forces working out and raising those starting wages, because there'd be a bit of a shortage.
Absolutely. The law of supply and demand works all the time.
We won't solve today. That's why we need our listeners to tune in day after day. We make progress on this thing. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet. You've heard of that. With American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7, theallinin.com. My name ends in Wade. Kevin Wade, Rick Trader is with me. You stay with us. We have another guest coming up in about 5 minutes.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Frank Giordano, president of Philly Pops. The Your Music Matters morning show and the Philly Pops have put together a great event on May 23rd at the Investors Bank Performing Arts Center in Washington Township. The Philly Pops presents the All South Jersey Jazz Festival. 6 finalist high school jazz bands, all from South Jersey, will perform. Schools were chosen during the recent South Jersey High School Jazz Band Competition on the Your Music Matters morning show on WNJC. At the concert, each band will be performing. The show will also feature the Philly Pops Big Band Ensemble. The highlight of the evening will be the announcement of the winning high school band, who will play with the Pops Ensemble. Tickets are available at the box office for $20 and $10 for students. Tickets are also available at Ticketmaster.com. More information about the competition can be found online by going to 1360radio.com or seniormatters.info. Hope to see you there on the 23rd and listen to these young people perform.
And we are back a little bit early because we understand we're all caught up in air traffic needs. And with that, let's get right to the point. Niger Innes is a conservative activist and the chief strategist for TeaPartyForward.com. Niger is an advocate to reach across party lines and promote policies centered on return to the fundamental principles embodied in the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. Thank God. And with that, Niger Innes, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, great to be on with you guys, as always.
Hey, you've got a column, Unhinged Out of Touch Agitators of Black Lives Matter are planning to bring angry mobs to protest in Cleveland at the Republican National Convention. What's going on there, Niger?
Well, you know, these anarchists, and, you know, these are a rehashed, recycled Occupy Wall Street crowd. And, you know, their campaign, their slogan, even though it is called Black Lives Matter, has very little to do with Black lives. It has much more to do with a progressive, far left-wing socialist agenda and ideology that they want to impose and intimidate on the American people.
So this Black Lives Matter, it's just a masquerade. They were Occupy Wall Street before that. They were Ban the Bomb before that. They were Burn the Blob.
That's exactly right. They were the Rumble in Seattle or the Something in Seattle, if you recall, back in 1999 during the WTO conference. You know, these guys, you know, they keep recycling themselves over and over and over again, and they do not represent Black lives. In fact, it was very interesting. Your listeners might want to look up a poll for ammunition for future ideological battles. There was a poll taken by Gallup, and at the height of the so-called Black Lives Matter campaign in August of 2015, right after Ferguson, they took a poll, and they asked the American people, in particular Black Americans, do you think that there are too many cops in your community, that there are just enough cops in your community, or that there are not enough cops in your community? And when you combine the number of those blacks that believe that there are not enough cops or that there are just enough cops in the community, the score was 90% to 10%. Only 10% of the respondents thought that there were too many cops. There was too much of a police presence in their community.
Well, I think that's incredible to most of our listeners, because that's not something I heard on CNN or MSNBC.
That's right. That's right. They're too busy promoting the Black Lives Matter agenda and campaign to tell the truth and to try to get a real sense of what Black lives, real Black lives are going through, and what real desires are of Black people.
Now, do you think this is something that, well, I think I know the answer, but let me offer the question anyway. I don't think you feel this is a true grassroots movement. Do you think there might be some influence from a guy by the name of George Soros, in fact?
You just threw a softball right down the middle for me. Of course. I mean, look, George Soros, I think history is going to show that George Soros is one of the most destructive, evil influences on our American politics, in generations, since the fall of the Soviet Union, if you will. The left wing always wants to talk about the Koch brothers as being such a malicious influence on our politics. They are nothing in comparison to the profound influence that George Soros has. And the fact that George Soros is not called on it, the fact that, quite frankly, he's not deported out of the United States I wish Donald Trump's wall had been built before George Soros immigrated to the United States of America.
Audience, that's a Niger Innes quote. Let's use the crystal ball.
And by the way, this is something that many of my Latino and Black immigrant brothers and sisters need to understand. The American people are very generous people, but we have a limited generosity and patience. And we will be damned if you come into our country, you want to come into our country, and you want to come into our country to fundamentally change it, fundamentally overturn it, fundamentally destroy the institutions that made us great in the first place, which is the bloody reason you want to come here in the first place.
Niger Innes, I'll tell you, it's, you really hit the nail on the head. If people come here, or at least their spokesman, okay, say they're coming here because they want to fundamentally change America, you have to ask why they took that long walk.
Exactly. If things were so splendid in Africa or Latin America or in Europe or in Asia, then why didn't you just stay there? And the reason is clear. Our country is the freest, most prosperous country in the history of the world. It's quite, unfortunately, after 7 years of Barack Hussein Obama, it is not quite as free as it was before, but it's still the freest country on the face of the earth. And it is, as Abraham Lincoln said over a century ago, we are the last best hope of free societies, of government by the people, for the people on earth.
And all we need to heal these wounds is to just let the wishes and the will and the voices of the people find their natural place in this whole big discussion, and not let it be hijacked by George Soros or left-wing media or ambitious liberal politicians who will say and do anything to shake out one more vote.
That's exactly right. And this is going to be a critical election. And, for all my true blue conservative Tea Partiers that are loyal to the Constitution. I'm calling you from Louisville. I'm getting ready to board a flight, but I'm just leaving the NRA convention. And let me tell you, Donald Trump came down there and he knocked a home run, a grand slam home run. He is wildly popular, even though he is not viewed by most of us as a doctrinaire, constitutional, limited government conservative. We know what the stakes are. We know that, as a friend of mine, Ann Coulter, once said about Mitt Romney, he may have flipped and flopped on different issues at different times, but he's flopping the right way now. And he's on the right side of the line that we have drawn in the sand against the progressive, socialist, quite frankly, communist-inspired, far left-wing crowd that we have to defeat in November.
Yeah, I mean, as one of my neighbors who's not politically active mentioned in conversation not too many months ago, she says, Kevin, there's too many things going wrong. It just has to stop. And I think that's the solidifying opinion among a whole lot of folks in this country. It just has to stop. And maybe that's what Donald Trump's appeal is. He seems to have the energy and the strength and the bluntness to stop it.
Well, yeah, I think you're spot on with that, and I think with Trump we have the potential. If we bring in a wave of courageous congressmen and senators, we've already got control of. I think some 60% of the state legislatures and governorships. If Donald Trump can lead the helm and lead the charge, he can bring the attitude to not only stop the slip and slide of this country into a third world nation, but he can actually reverse the course and bring us back to the country that we all know and love.
A country that gives everyone a chance every day, and you really, really want to know that your kids and their kids will have a shot at even a bigger bite out of the apple. And I think that's the despair that's overcome the country is we constantly get lectured by political leadership that we're bad people or we're selfish or we're uncaring or we're intolerant, and none of that is true. We all have our limits because we're all individuals, but we can't have our motivations and our character assaulted by political leaders in Washington, where we will end up despising them, and that's where we have ended up now.
You know something? There's such nonsense and it's such vicious lies. The American people are the most generous people on earth per capita, number one. Number two, within the United States of America, it is actually the middle class and the upper middle class and the wealthy that are the most generous with their resources. Republicans are more generous than Democrats. Conservatives are more generous than liberals. You know, conservatives are more generous with their own money. Liberals are more generous with other people's money, the government, and taxes.
Yeah, and I remember that when our Vice President Joe Biden released his tax returns a couple of years ago, he and his wife, Mrs. Biden, their donations to charity, and they have a high income company, they have very high income, were considerably less than mine and my wife. And more shocking, this wasn't published, that a lot of the cash value of his donations were empties being returned for the deposit.
That's right, and that's the gross hypocrisy of that crowd. They think that because they can promote policies that they assert are going to help the people, that's real generosity. You remember the old adage, it's better to teach a man how to fish than to just give him a fish. And that's the conservative mantra. That's what we believe in, and that's the basic work ethic that has made this country the greatest country on the face of this earth.
And will help us rebuild. I think our view needs to be that, you know, sometimes, like, the folks in your home are sick. The kids are sick. Mom and dad have a bad cold. So, you know, there's a little something going on. And that's when you call your relatives who are planning to visit and say, we have a sick house now. You just can't visit right now. We're not ready. Well, we need to tell the world that our country has a little bit of illness going on right now, and we have to kind of slow down the number of people coming in at the moment till we get healthy again. And that's the analogy I use.
There's the old analogy I like to use. You know, I mean, there's no doubt that the world depends on the United States. Economically, our prosperity is the foundation of prosperity. Our military is what assures peace and open sea lanes so that trade can commence between nations. It is, I firmly believe that our Constitution says that we are a republic, but there's no doubt that there is a Pax Americana that exists, a peace that is ensured by the United States of America. But having said that, our debt is so traumatic. Our deficit is so traumatic. Our spending is so out of control. Our government is so out of control. I say that we are akin to the big parent that's on a plane, and the plane is going down and losing oxygen. And you know what the flight attendant always tells you? Before you put the gas mask on the child, you put it on yourself first to make sure that you are able to put it on the child. And the parent in that situation is the United States of America, and the child is the planet.
No, that's a good analogy, and I think it's something that our audience can understand. I know you've stayed with us a bit longer than expected. Can you quickly tell, because we want to let you make that flight, can you tell our audience how to stay current with what you're up to?
Yeah, you can go to teapartyforward.com. That's teapartyforward.com. Or you can go to my other organization, congressofracialequality.org.
Nigel Innes, thanks so much for being with us on the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Well, there you have it. Black Lives Matter is just a new name for some old rope. It's been going around for a long time. Occupy Wall Street had a different, kind of skin color behind it, but it's basically the same organization trying to do the same thing, which is to attack and undermine what works and cause us to lose our own self-confidence. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia. And around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7, theallinden.com. I'm Kevin Wade. Rick Trader's with me. You stay with us. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding. to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network, or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Matteo has joined us in the studio, and he has some thoughts about how to communicate with liberal friends.
I'm here, and I'm ready to talk. I've been trying to come to terms with how to talk to these people, because I've done it several times, and nothing I try works. And I think I finally figured out the best way to talk to them. And I wrote this article that's going to go up on the Turning Point USA. They have a blog where a bunch of young conservative people can write articles about whatever they like, and they put it up for you. So I just submitted this to them, and I also put it on my own personal page. And it just starts by saying, it's happened to most of us in the last year. Caught in the midst of casual conversation, a friend performed a not-so-Freudian slip by endorsing Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders. And then I have a picture of a guy ripping his tooth out. Yeah. And, this is the problem that I keep encountering. You don't really feel the burn. As somebody like me, you really only feel the burn when your core ignites after hearing somebody say that, and you get really just flustered with how to come to terms in explaining it to them. So I came up with 3 ways to respond to them when they say these things and maintain both a friendly and professional relationship at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to get your feedback on this to see what you think and see where we agree and disagree, see if it works. The first step is to question their idolatry. You just have to ask them why. Why Bernie? Let them explain what it is that they find in him. And, you know, I wrote this too. There's many reasons to like the guy. You know, he's for the people, he's consistent, he identifies real issues, he was in the civil rights movement, and he's not Hillary, and he's not Trump. So these are all reasons to like a person, right? But then I go on to say that if character traits are the only credentials that your friends deem necessary, you can't win them over by downplaying Bernie's compassion, because that's the biggest thing for them. And how are you going to debunk something that's pretty much their whole world? Mm-hmm. So I say the real problem is that he actually believes this stuff. That's why I find it so toxic, that he believes in it enough to believe that this would actually cause positive change. And you can't get him on his intentions, because I don't believe that they're ill-willed. It's just whatever's behind it is the problem that I'm encountering to tell him about and have them understand it. So I find step number 2 to be, you know, since he's a nice guy and everything, you have to reach into their hearts and excavate what they really want for themselves and for the whole country, and how socialism is actually the antithesis of that. And that would be pretty much freedom and self-ownership. So the second step that I talk about is encouraging your friends to embrace a sort of self-ownership. You know, a lot of them think that this socialism idea is either new or hasn't been done right before. And I tried telling them, what do you mean it hasn't been done right? It's happened in so many different places. And every time they just disavow the comparison. They say that Bernie's version is different than people like, you know, Joseph Stalin or Hitler or Lenin or the likes of those people. So I try to just talk to them about what it means to own yourself and not be part of a colossal group of people that you owe something to. And I wrote in here that socialism seems fair because it identifies a common will that many of us share, believing that all people should be able to enjoy the fruits of a society. You know, we don't want people to live poorly. We don't want them to have a bad life. But this socialism idea forces us to live in a government-approved way of life by hindering our productivity and pulling our resources. You know, I wrote that it pulls down success and pulls up poverty, dragging us into this crossroad of not so bad and not so great, all for the sake of saying that we have some things and not good things. Now, when I was writing this, I kept thinking as if I was one of them, the way I would respond to these kinds of things. And I wound up writing more than I actually intended to, because I came up with so many things that they would say in response to this, and I tried to find ways to explain to them why that is not fitting in what I'm trying to tell them. So, for example, I wrote, they might argue that it's better for all people to have some things than it is for only some people to have good things. And this is where I find it to be so mind-boggling and poisonous that they actually consider giving up the rights of every single individual alone and pulling it into the rights for the whole. And I wrote that, you know, this whole idea values the whole over the individual, and the whole values you less than you value yourself. So what if instead of all having some things, what if we all had good things? What if we allowed the market to get better at producing instead of penalizing people who evolve the production quantity and quality of the market? What if we made good things and gave them to as many people as we could?
Matteo, I think one of the things why socialism works, it works on the good nature that is within each man themselves. Everybody, I think most people will admit they want everyone to do well.
Of course.
But where that goes wrong is, just as Niger just said, we can teach you to fish and you can eat the rest of your life, or we can give you fish you'll eat tonight. Where I think you started off your premise on a very sound footing when you started asking questions. Try to get the other side's motivation, but you get, my thinking is, you try to get them to find out that their ills of their own ways themselves by the questions you ask. Mm-hmm. And the answers they give.
Exactly.
You keep bringing them to your side. And it's very difficult, in my opinion, my experience, and Kevin, you have more experience at this than I do when you talk about people who are trying to persuade them to your side. You know that old expression, people don't learn lessons from others, they have to learn the hard lessons of life themselves. Yes. That's basically what I think these people have to do. I know myself when I was even your age, the first vote I cast for president was for George McGovern. Why? I didn't know any better. I really didn't know what George McGovern stood for. I knew one thing: I didn't like Richard Nixon. Now, looking back in retrospect, Richard Nixon was, well, he was certainly more conservative than George McGovern. I went to one of the very first Earth Days. I was one of the tree huggers. Yeah, I still love trees now, but I see them as a very useful source to build things, to create things, and they continue to grow. They drop seeds and they grow right on their own. So they're a very useful resource. And I think that my thinking, coming from where I was when I was 20 to where I am now at this advanced age, are the things that I've learned in life.
Mm-hmm. I think that experience is a lot of the problem. But then I look at it in my sense of the fact that I haven't experienced much that would actually convert me if I were to be on their side first. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just the way that we see things and feed into our own biases a little bit.
And I think also the way you think is because of your parenting. Mm-hmm. You have parents, I know your parents. There's a very strong work ethic there in your family.
Absolutely.
You know, very strong work ethic. That
actually leads into my last point, the third step, which would be to help them help themselves. Mm-hmm. Because I find trouble in asking which question is the most important to ask when you're looking for a candidate. And the one question that makes the most sense for someone to ask when you're choosing someone to vote for is, how will my life be different? And in a lot of ways, your lives would be unaffected because you're the controller of your own destiny. So, but the ways that it could be effective is if your destiny is harder to achieve because of government coercion. So I talk about how the only person that cares enough about you to help you through your life is yourself. And that this kind of socialism idea doesn't let you control yourself and what you do with your own money and your own life and your own property. So I said that the crux of the argument that you have to make is that no candidate is a superhero. You own yourself, and you are the only person with the willpower, emotion, and knowledge to be able to help yourself as an individual.
It's very poignant, because let me tell you something about superheroes in real life. They'll disappoint you. Mm-hmm. And the only one that you can rely on who won't disappoint you, and you can disappoint yourself too, but that's, in my opinion, you need to depend upon yourself. Make yourself a superhero. Exactly. Hey, Mateo, we got to go to a break, but let's put your article up on our Facebook page and on our website. Kevin, you want to take us to break, or do you want me to take this out?
We're coming to you live from the conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. TheAllIn.com. I'm Kevin Wade. Rick Traders here. Thanks, Mateo, for those observations. We will be right back in 6 minutes. You stay with us.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Frank Giordano, president of Philly Pops. The Your Music Matters morning show and the Philly Pops have put together a great event on May 23rd at the Investors Bank Performing Arts Center in Washington Township. The Philly Pops presents the All South Jersey Jazz Festival. 6 finalist high school jazz bands, all from South Jersey, will perform. Schools were chosen during the recent South Jersey High School Jazz Band Competition on the Your Music Matters morning show on WNJC. At the concert, Each band will be performing. The show will also feature the Philly Pops Big Band Ensemble. The highlight of the evening will be the announcement of the winning high school band, who will play with the Pops Ensemble. Tickets are available at the box office for $20 and $10 for students. Tickets are also available at Ticketmaster.com. More information about the competition can be found online by going to 1360radio.com or seniormatters.info. Hope to see you there on the 23rd and listen to these young people perform.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader, the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. Or at 1 p.m., log on to RoarRadio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. I'm Kevin Wade. Rick Trader is in the studio with me. It's a Monday, the 23rd of May. Great show so far. And I think we're saving the best for last. Our final guest is up.
Indeed.
Isaac Orr is a research fellow for energy and environmental policy at the Heartland Institute. He's a speaker, researcher, and writer specializing in hydraulic fracturing, mining, agricultural, and environmental policy issues. His writings have appeared in the USA Today, New York Post, The Hill, Orange County Register, and the Washington Times. And we're just glad to have him here with us. Isaac Orr, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You have a column, Experts React to EPA's Proposal to Increase Ethanol in Gasoline. What's going on there?
Yeah, so a long time ago, 2005, Bush administration thought, hey, we're running out of oil, so let's increase the amount of fuel that we're producing from corn ethanol. So they put in this renewable fuel standard, and now we're getting to the point to where there's too much ethanol in the fuel supply in order for it to not damage cars and small engines and stuff like that. So despite the government's mandates, things don't always work out in the market.
And what is driving the Environmental Protection Agency to do this? We seem to have a glut of crude oil on our hands and the ability to produce as much American oil as we care to drill for. Why are they living in a world of 10 years ago?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. And it just kind of goes back to the fact that once you have a government, program that's put in place, it's very hard to get rid of it despite the fact that it doesn't make any sense anymore, because you have a lot of people that are very interested in keeping their investment. So a lot of people invested in ethanol. So now they're very interested in making sure that the government mandates that their product gets used.
So there are little busy bees working at the EPA who won't be so busy and may not be a federal paid bee if they don't continue to crank out these increasingly burdensome regulations, including the ethanol standard. Now, where is the standard today? And Isaac, do you know where they want to take it?
So the standard today is actually a lot lower than Congress had initially thought it would be back in 2007 when they expanded this. So right now, the standard has about a little bit more than 10% of the fuel supply would be provided by the amount of ethanol that is mandating get put into the gasoline. They actually want to increase the amount of ethanol that's produced from corn stalks and other biomass. So they call those like non-traditional sources of ethanol. So they're trying to make that more of a prominent feature in the renewable fuel standard, but the technology just hasn't produced enough. Like, we produce so little advanced biofuel that they can't actually implement it because we just can't produce enough.
Yeah, we've had some guests on the show talking about that. It's been a miserable failure, and there has been substantial sums of private investment as well as, unfortunately, a lot of public monies have gone into some of these programs to convert cellulose into ethanol, and they simply don't work. And the state of Mississippi is suing a firm that was down there and took tens of millions of state dollars. And they were supposed to produce something in the order of tens of millions of gallons a year. And they never got beyond a couple thousand gallons, and they left an environmental mess behind. So that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow never really materialized, but I guess the EPA hasn't learned that yet.
Right, yeah. The EPA is too busy trying to regulate oil and gas, so that way maybe they'll have to actually depend on the ethanol. I don't know.
So we're around 10% today, and the EPA wants to increase it.
Statutorily, that's what they're supposed to do. But I think that this, so essentially when they published the new numbers, nobody was really happy. So the people that are opposed to the ethanol mandate were upset that they increased the amount of ethanol that will be required in the fuel supply. And the people that were really pushing for the ethanol mandate to be fully implemented were also really upset. So this isn't a scientific number. This isn't an economic number. This is a political number. So who knows where it will actually go. But if you have older cars, so anything before like the early 2000s, your car can only take 10% ethanol in the fuel. So, there's a place for ethanol in the fuel supply, and I think that's part of the discussion gets lost a lot. Ethanol is an oxygenate, so it actually increases the efficiency of gasoline. It lets it burn more completely up to a certain point. So people think that in between 4 and 8% ethanol by volume can actually increase the environmental benefits of burning gasoline, burning ethanol. But really, mandating it to be used as a fuel instead of an additive is really just a mistake.
Yeah, I understand that ethanol above a certain concentration, above a certain percentage of total volume in the fuel, actually will begin to destroy rubber gaskets and hoses and do serious damage to engines, and most readily seen in small engines, lawnmowers and outboard motors and such.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. So that's why a lot of people, a lot of gas stations, I grew up in Wisconsin, a lot of those gas stations in touristy areas will actually have pumps that advertise no ethanol. And, that's good for that area because I've heard some people say, like, I put that gasoline in my chainsaw and I got 2 good years out of it, but you have to put a whole bunch of additives in it in order to kind of make it so that ethanol isn't as damaging to that engine.
So I imagine we have a smattering of people who maybe are environmentally misguided, who feel that there are very significant benefits using ethanol. And then we also have certainly the people who like to raise corn, who would like to see more corn raised to increase the prices. And then we have actually a corn industry that does very well with some of the price supports we have for corn sugar and other derivatives from corn that are very similar to what's needed to make alcohol from that same corn sugar. So there's a number of vested interests at work at seeing that we use even more ethanol than frankly I would like to use.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I grew up on a dairy farm. So, I mean, my dad still farms. We have about 500 acres. It's about half corn, half soybeans. But, it's really one of those things where a lot of people think it's helping because you can see the corn prices go up, especially around 2008, 2009. Commodity prices kind of went through the roof, especially in 2010, 2011, 2012. But now we're starting to see the other half of that. So the best cure for high commodity prices is high commodity prices. So now we've had a whole bunch of farmers convert land that was otherwise not used for farming into corn land. And now, the prices are down below the cost of production. So during this heyday, this ethanol boom, you actually had a bunch of farmers pay way more for land. The cost of land went through the roof. The cost of machinery went through the roof. Fertilizer, seed, you name it. So now they have built-in structural cost and debt that they need to try to pay off, and it's a lot harder to do that now that people have decided that they're going to try and grow more corn to take advantage of these prices. So, even the people that this was supposed to help, it has negative consequences, and that happens anytime the government gets involved with trying to set prices.
Isaac, we're going into a hard break. Would you stay with us, and we'll pick this up on the other side?
Absolutely.
Isaac Gore's with us. He's a research fellow for energy and environmental policy at the Heartland Institute. You stay with us. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM. our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with the American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7, theallinin.com. I'm Kevin Wade. Rick Trader's here. You stay with us. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio network. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. Or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com, and you can listen to the Conservative Commandos on replay, delayed replay, on any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Isaac Gore, research fellow for energy and environmental policy at the Heartland Institute, and he's talking about the EPA. Yes, our friends at the EPA, they never sleep. They're proposing a new standard to increase the amount of ethanol in America's gas supply by 700 million gallons by next year. Isaac, thank you for staying with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you had mentioned that this artificial demand for ethanol, which creates an artificial demand for corn, has driven a spike in the recent past to the price of farmland, and some farmers have actually gone out and bought some of this more expensive land with anticipations of having a healthy paycheck by growing corn. What happens if that doesn't work out?
Well, I mean, a lot of times people take on a lot of debt, and it's great if you were, some of the people that had bought up a lot of land and had land to sell. But unfortunately, it's really tough for young people to get interested or involved in farming when that's the case. The nation's farmers are already the oldest profession. They are the oldest. They're like in their late 50s, 60s, or at least that's the average age. So we have kind of a problem looming on the horizon that it's making it a lot harder for independent family farmers to keep competing against large companies that can afford to pay more for higher land prices, and B, it's just harder to get into it. So, unfortunately, every time the government tries to do something to help, family farms and that sort of stuff, they kind of end up actually concentrating the food supply even more.
It seems that the old story about if you gave the federal government the Sahara Desert, there'd be a shortage of sand within 5 years is true. Everything, and I truly mean, it seems that everything they touch goes to seed, pardon the farming expression. And, I feel bad for these farmers who bought this land and were hoping for $8 a bushel corn, and I guess now it's back down under, what, $4, $3? I don't know. Maybe you do.
Yeah, I haven't checked lately. I usually talk to my dad about that stuff. Gives me something to chat with him about, but it's definitely below what it costs to put it in the ground. So thankfully there's been a little relief. Farmland prices went down for the first time since the Reagan administration a year ago. So that was a 3% decline in the value of farmland. And the price of fertilizer has gone down just because we're producing so much natural gas in the U.S. But
sure.
Really, when you talk about the artificial demand that put on used machinery, it's just, there's a lot of unforeseen consequences for everything the government does.
Yeah, when you have a free market working, you'll have 100,000 decisions made by 100,000 decision makers every day, some good, some bad. We believe in free enterprise with good evidence that, on balance, more good decisions are made than bad. But the entire population doesn't suddenly lurch over a cliff. But when government takes that decision making away from 100,000 people, now we're subject to very strange moves in the marketplace and things that can truly, if not in the short term, in the long term, hurt an entire country.
Yep. And, I mean, when you look at it, like, what is it all for? 40% of the nation's corn crop is going for ethanol, and at most we have, probably 19 to 30 days worth of fuel that we're actually getting from, producing all this corn into ethanol. So maybe you could sell that as being less reliant on Saudi Arabia or Venezuela back in 2005. But, the United States is the largest producer of oil and natural gas in the world now, and that's not going to change anytime soon unless these really low prices keep in play. But it's not – we can actually drill our way to lower prices and abundance now. So really –
No, wait a second, Isaac. Wait a second. The same guy that told me I could keep my doctor if I liked my doctor assured the entire nation you can't drill your way to $2 a gallon gasoline. Are you telling me the president was wrong?
I'm saying sometimes the president doesn't have the best foresight.
That's a very, very generous way of putting it.
That's about 95% of the time, I think, there, Isaac. That's about 95% of the time.
So in total, after involving so much of the farmland, certainly in the farming belt of this country, the total productivity, the total volume of fuel is what, a few weeks to the nation?
Ultimately, that's what you're looking at.
Unbelievable. Well, I like ethanol to be available at the pump, but I also like it not to be available at the pump, and we'll put the decisions back into the hands of drivers. I'm sure that there's very few people in Washington who feel that way. But you say your dad has a dairy business?
Yeah, he used to milk cows, but he got sick doing that. It's too much work. You have to milk them twice a day. So we have beef, and we do some cash cropping.
Okay, but if he still had those dairy cattle, those dairy cows, his cost of producing milk would have gone up with the cost of the corn that he's feeding the cows with. So this is an example of how it ripples all through the economy.
Hey, Isaac, you said something as we're about to go to the break that really got my attention. They think it is helping. It's almost like these people say, well, let's do something. Even if it doesn't work, let's do something so we can say we're doing good. But Isaac, when it comes to this ethanol, if they just do the math itself will tell them that it doesn't work, because it takes 3 units of energy to produce 4 units of energy with ethanol. And ethanol, let's say a gallon of ethanol has 25% less power than a gallon of gasoline. So where is the benefit? Where is the saving? I just don't see it.
They were trying to pitch it as an energy independence, and that's where they try to. The last thing the government wants anybody to do is have to solve a math problem. They want value.
That's why we have the IRS.
Right?
Hey, Isaac, where in Wisconsin is your...
So, originally from a little town called Waupaca. So that's about 50 miles west of Green Bay.
Okay, because I've spent some time out in Oshkosh and Appleton, and that's just a great place. I know they got a lot of farms out that way. Great people.
Yeah, I was right next to Appleton. That's where we did our school supply. We shop for our school supplies, actually.
Yeah, ever hear of the Experimental Aircraft Association?
Oh, yeah, EAA?
EAA, yeah, I did some work with them. And by the way, don't put any gasoline with ethanol in your airplane engine.
And the ultralights.
That would be a real mistake. Isaac Orr, please tell us how we can keep track of the good work of the Heartland Institute.
Absolutely. You can follow them on Twitter at Heartland Institute, or you can just look at their website, which is heartland.org. And I have my own Twitter. I don't update it as much as I ought to, but it's the fracking guy at Twitter. So after that, everybody should be able to find all the information they want.
Isaac Orr, Research Fellow for the Heartland Institute, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, I appreciate it. Anytime.
Thank you. Rick, it's that time. We're coming up at the end of the first show of this week.
All right, Kevin, great to work with you once again.
As always, and let me tell our audience, we do this for you. Please take the good word and circulate it. We have a republic to save, and every one of us needs to man the lines. God bless, Godspeed, and may God save the United States of America.